let's talk about challenging parents. You're going to have some parents that are going to want to make you pull your hair out, literally, or it's just going to turn gray. So you have a choice, because there's an 80-20 rule, and 20% of your families are going to be a little bit challenging to work with. 20% of those families are the most critical ones that you either need to create a tremendous alliance with, and I'll give you some strategies on how to do that, or you may have to let them go because there may not be a possibility of a healthy partnership. So I want to share with you some ideas and strategies that I've used and that have worked for us in our program that helps deal with challenging families. So here we go. Let's dive in. Let's take a scenario, potty training. So we want to make sure that our kids are supported in their potty training. It's a positive experience. We're partnering with families. This consistency is going on at home and at the center. Because have you ever had a parent that says, hey, let me know when you guys have my kid potty trained? Yeah, you have. So you got to make sure there's a good partnership. But what if parents are frustrated and therefore they're not partnering with you, they're starting to blame, or maybe your staff aren't being consistent? You got to get everybody on the same page. But when your staff reach out to you and they say to you, I'm having a really hard problem with Teresa because of this, this, and this. So here's strategy A to Z on how to partner with that parent. Some good suggestions. Number one, make sure your staff are being consistent. Got it? Number two, make sure your staff are communicating. Ask your staff questions. What does mom say about this? What do they do about this? What happens on the weekends? When your staffs tell you, I'm not sure, I don't know, that means they're not communicating. So force your staff to communicate, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, and you'll know whether they are by asking good, pointed questions. Okay, that communication's critical. Verbal, ideal. Make sure there's good messages that are being sent. Maybe create out a little bit of time at nap time for them to reach out to call that parent. Help them. Maybe make that phone call with that staff member to that parent. So that would be maybe step 2 or 3, where you're starting to get involved in the communication in a positive, encouraging way. Okay, now let's say that continues and you're still not having good success. Then maybe we need to escalate it with a meeting. Maybe you can bring in that parent. It's great if you can have a staff there, and see if you can make headway by getting on the same page, communicating. So bring that parent in, meet with them, put a plan in place, and then expect that the staff and that parent are going to follow through with that plan. Really critical. Now, a week, 2 goes by, and somebody starts to fall off that plan. If you've got great staff, it's probably your parent that's falling off that plan or making excuses, or maybe their 3-year-old told mom, hey, Miss Michelle says that I don't have to wear underwear anymore and I can wear diapers again. And mom's like, all right, cool. I don't have to potty train you anymore. This happens just like that. So maybe mom looked for an opportunity to get derailed off that plan, pull it back together. And this is where you make sure you have that staff member there. Make sure you have all staff members there that are a part of that program, and have those staff members prepare. Have them create an outline, let's say from the beginning of when that child entered their classroom, or when staff and parents decided, hey, let's start potty training, get this kiddo on play. So have them create an outline of conversations they said, a chronological one, so that, and then have all staff in that meeting that have contact with that parent. Because how many parents do you know that talk to Michelle, then they talk to Mickey, then they talk to Michael, and they kind of tend to try to gather information as well as possibly manipulate a situation to where they're just not maybe having to be held accountable to the plan that's in place. Maybe you've got a potty training plan in place, an actual written plan, and we've got one. I'll drop that into the Dropbox, so into the treasure chest for you. So take a look at our potty training plan. It's been successful before. We've used it with children without and with special needs. So take a look at that. Maybe that's helpful, something you could use. Now again, we're meeting with that parent, putting their feet to the fire, maybe, if that's the situation, and it is with 20% of the parents that are most challenging. So hold accountable, make sure you're holding your staff accountable, and then you've got to decide, A, Can we bring this parent on board? Because some of the most challenging family partnerships you have, either A, have the ability to turn into an extremely loyal parent, and it could just be they're struggling because of misinformation. It could be they're struggling because of poor communication or unrealistic expectations. Do you have any parents with that? Do you have staff with that? Yeah, of course you do. So it could just be there needs to be an education process that needs to be handled, and partnering with parents like that intensely are going to determine whether you're going to have that strong allegiance, that strong family partnership, if it's possible, or maybe it's not a partnership at all. Maybe this is a family that needs different services, and maybe your program is not ideal for their needs. Well, my program's great for everybody. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because you might have if you have structure, and some households, they don't believe in structure. So it might not be perfect for every family. So recognize whether or not you can reach agreements and have success with your families that you're struggling with. And if not, might be time to cut them loose. Might be time. In that situation, that's maybe a follow-up meeting as well. And in your meetings with parents, make sure you mention that, not as a threat, not at all, but just say, we want to make sure that we're the right partnership for you, that we're the right program for you and your child. We need to want to make sure we meet as many of your needs as possible. But hey, if our program isn't ideal, hey, let's try to find one, help you find one that works maybe better. Maybe you need an in-home program that has a little bit more flexibility because your 3-year-old hasn't napped since they were 1.5, you tell us. And so there's no way that they're going to nap, and they're screaming in our program. So maybe a program where they could just kind of rest for 15, 20 minutes, meet licensing requirements, and then up and out they go, instead of having a room with 20 kids all sleeping, trying to rest, and your kiddo is really struggling. So work with parents, but realize it is not the end of the world if you got to cut a parent loose. It could be best in the long term for that child, for that family, because then it's not stressful for everybody. Give it everything you can to try to make those partnerships work, but if not, make sure you cut them loose. Thanks for watching. I hope this was a good little snippet of information for you. Little piece on partnering with families, so important. Have a marvelous day. Don't forget, hit that like. I think it's down, is it over there or over here? That like button. Hit that, subscribe. Thanks, appreciate you.